Welcome back to another exciting episode of Old Coin Empire, the channel where we uncover the hidden history, amazing facts, and potential value behind the coins you might already have in your pocket. In today's video, we begin part one of our special 8-part series, featuring some of the most interesting Lincoln Memorial cents from the 1970s and early 1980s. And in this very first part, we take a deep dive into the 1970 Lincoln 1-cent coin. Whether you're a new collector or someone who recently found one of these pennies in old savings, this video is going to give you everything you need to know. The 1970 Lincoln cent looks simple at first glance, but this year is actually one of the most talked about years among collectors. Why? Because while most 1970 pennies are extremely common, a few rare varieties from this year are worth real money. Let's start with the basics. The 1970 penny features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse side is the iconic Lincoln Memorial, which was used from 1959 all the way to 2008. Like most pennies of this era, it is made of solid copper, 95% copper and 5% zinc, and it weighs 3.11 grams. This is important because modern pennies after 1982 switched to copper-plated zinc and are much lighter. In 1970, pennies were minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, Denver coins carry a D, and San Francisco coins carry an S. Most 1970 D and 1970 no mint mark pennies are extremely common and usually worth only 1 cent in circulated condition, maybe 2 or 3 cents to a collector. But the story becomes much more exciting when we talk about the 1970 S pennies. San Francisco minted both regular business strike coins and proof coins. And this is where one of the most famous varieties comes in, the 1970 S small date. There are 2 main versions of the 1970 S penny, the small date and the large date. The large date is very common, but the small date is much more scarce and can sell for far more than face value. So, how do you tell the difference? On the small date, the top of the number 7 sits higher and the word Liberty looks slightly lighter and less bold. On the large date, the top of the 7 sits lower and the date appears heavier. Even small differences like this matter in the world of numismatics. A genuine 1970 S small date penny in perfect uncirculated condition can sell anywhere from $50 to $2,000 depending on grade. Proof versions with the small date variety can sell even higher. Another major attraction of the 1970 penny is the presence of double die errors. A double die happens when the die used to strike the coin is imprinted twice at slightly different angles, creating doubled letters or numbers. On 1970 Lincoln cents, the most famous double die appears on the reverse, especially affecting the words "Liberty, in God we trust," and 1 cent. Some double die examples from this year have sold for hundreds of dollars at auction. Now, most 1970 pennies that people find today are heavily circulated, scratched, or worn down. These coins are worth only 1 to 5 cents. But if you happen to come across a 1970 S penny, especially a proof coin, make sure to check it carefully, because even small varieties or minor errors can significantly raise its value. Look for off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, or strong doubling. These are the kinds of features collectors love. So that's the story of the 1970 Lincoln Memorial cent. A year filled with common coins, but also some very exciting rarities. If you own one of these pennies, take a closer look. You might have something more valuable than you think. And now that we've covered 1970, get ready for the next part in this series, where we take a look at the 1973 Lincoln cent and explore another chapter of American coin history. This is part 2 of our special 8-part series on Lincoln Memorial pennies from the 1970s and early 1980s. In this episode, we focus on the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin. At first glance, the 1973 penny seems extremely ordinary, and most people overlook it. But like many coins from this era, hidden varieties, minting issues, and the metal composition make it far more interesting than most people realize. So let's take a closer look at what makes the 1973 penny worth learning about. The 1973 Lincoln cent features the same classic design introduced decades earlier. On the front, or obverse, we see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln created by Victor David Brenner. The words, "In God we trust," appear above Lincoln's head, liberty appears to the left, and the date 1973 appears to the right. On the reverse side, the iconic Lincoln Memorial stands tall, with United States of America curved above it, the motto E Pluribus Unum just below that, and the denomination 1 cent at the bottom. Collectors often enjoy this design because, if you look closely with a magnifying glass, you can see a tiny engraved figure representing Lincoln seated inside the memorial. This detail makes the design unique among United States coins. Now, the 1973 penny was minted in extremely large numbers. The coins with no mint mark were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, while the Denver Mint struck coins with a D and the San Francisco Mint struck proof coins marked with an S. Because the total mintage number was so high, billions of coins, most 1973 pennies today, are very common and hold only face value. In circulated condition, you can expect them to be worth anywhere from 1 cent to maybe 3 cents, depending on their condition. But that is not the end of the story. Just like many other copper pennies before 1982, the 1973 Lincoln cent is made of 95% copper, weighing 3.11 grams. Because of this, the metal content alone can make these coins interesting to collectors, especially since pure copper pennies stopped being produced in the early 1980s. Many people collect 1970s pennies simply because they enjoy the feel and appearance of real copper compared to the modern zinc pennies. But the 1973 penny becomes truly exciting when we talk about mint errors. While there is no major famous variety like the 1970 S small date, there are still several types of errors that can make a 1973 penny worth much more than face value. One of the most valuable kinds is a double die error. On the 1973 penny, double die varieties are considered scarce, but not impossible to find. Doubling may be seen on the date, the word liberty, or the lettering in the motto "In God we trust." Strong double die examples can sell for $50 to $150, depending on their condition. Another error that collectors look for in 1973 pennies is an off-center strike. Off-center coins occur when the planchet is not perfectly aligned during the striking process. A slight off-center strike of about 5 to 10% is worth a few dollars, but anything over 50% off-center, while still showing the date, can sell for $30 to even $100 or more. There are also broad strike errors, which occur when the collar fails to hold the coin during striking, causing the edges to expand. These coins look wider and flatter and are often worth between $10 and $40. Clipped planchet errors can also occur on 1973 pennies. These coins appear as if a small curved bite has been taken out of the edge. Depending on the size and shape of the clip, such coins can sell for $10 to $50. Additionally, die cracks and cuds, raised bumps or lines caused by damaged dies, are popular among collectors and can bring in a premium, while regular 1973 coins found in pocket change are worth only 1 or 2 cents. The proof versions made in San Francisco are much more appealing to collectors. Proof coins are specially struck multiple times using polished dies, giving them a mirror-like finish. A typical 1973 S-proof penny is worth $1 to $4, depending on the grade. But if the proof coin also contains a double die or strike-through error, its price can jump significantly higher. So even though the 1973 Lincoln cent may seem unremarkable at first glance, it offers a fascinating mix of history, metal value, and collectible potential. Whether you're sorting through a box of old coins or starting your penny collection, always take a moment to inspect your 1973 pennies carefully. Who knows, you might find a hidden gem that others have overlooked. That concludes part 2 of our 8-part series. In the next episode, part 3, we will explore the 1974 Lincoln cent, a coin with its own set of surprises, including rare varieties and interesting historical background. Stay tuned. This is part 3 of our 8-part series exploring Lincoln Memorial pennies from the 1970s and early 1980s. In today's episode, we focus on the 1974 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a year that may look normal at first, but actually carries one of the most fascinating stories in the entire history of the penny. So let's dive deep into the world of the 1974 Lincoln cent and discover why collectors still talk about this year with excitement. The 1974 penny features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner. The details are familiar: "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" on the left, and the date 1974 on the right. On the reverse, we have the Lincoln Memorial, the design used from 1959 to 2008. United States of America arches across the top, E pluribus unum is centered just above the memorial, and 1 cent is boldly displayed at the bottom. This design may be common, but it has become iconic over decades of circulation. Now, the 1974 penny was produced in huge quantities. Philadelphia minted coins without a mint mark, Denver-produced coins with the D mint mark, and San Francisco struck proof coins bearing the S. All three are very common, and in circulated condition, they are usually worth 1 cent. Even in uncirculated condition, a typical 1974 or 1974 D coin is worth only a few cents. But the real excitement starts when we talk about what almost happened in 1974, a year that could have changed the penny forever. In the early 1970s, copper prices were rising sharply, and the cost of producing a copper penny was getting too high. Because of this, the United States Mint experimented with making pennies from different materials, and in 1974, they released a few test coins made from aluminum instead of copper. These experimental pieces are known as the 1974 aluminum cents. Only a small number of these coins were made, and they were never released into circulation. Nearly all were recalled and destroyed, but a few escaped the melting process, and the government still considers them illegal to own. They occasionally appear in news stories because collectors value them at hundreds of thousands of dollars, but technically they cannot be bought or sold. Even so, the legend of the 1974 aluminum penny keeps collectors fascinated with this year. And while you will not find an aluminum cent in your pocket change today, the story adds a unique historical twist to the 1974 penny. Aside from the aluminum experiment, the regular copper pennies of 1974 have several collectible varieties and errors. One of the most interesting is the 1974 double die penny. Unlike some double dies from earlier years, the 1974 doubling tends to be moderate rather than dramatic. Doubling may appear on the date, the word liberty, or the lettering in the motto. Strong examples can sell for $20 to $100 depending on grade. Another collectible variety is the 1974 S-proof coin. Proof pennies are struck with special polished dies to create a sharp, mirror-like surface. Most 1974 S-proof cents are worth between $1 and $3, but exceptionally high-grade examples certified by grading companies can bring much more. And like business strike coins, proof coins can also have errors. A proof penny with a minting error, such as a strike-through, off-center strike, or strong doubling, can be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100s. Collectors also look for planchet errors in the 1974 pennies. Clipped planchet errors, in which part of the coin appears cut out, can be worth $10 to $50. Off-center strikes are always popular, and their value depends on how off-center the strike is. A small 5% off-center error may be worth a few dollars, while a major 50% off-center coin with a visible date can be worth $100 or more. Another detail worth mentioning is the metal composition. Like pennies from earlier years, the 1974 penny is made of 95% copper and weighs 3.11 grams. This makes it part of the old copper penny era that collectors enjoy so much. These coins sound different, look different, and feel different compared to modern zinc pennies. Many collectors save pre-1982 pennies simply for their metal content, even if they are common. So although the 1974 penny may seem ordinary at first glance, it carries one of the most intriguing stories in the entire Lincoln Cent series. The attempt to change the penny's metal, the rare aluminum test coins, the interesting proof varieties, and the many collectible errors all make the 1974 penny a fascinating part of American coin history. That concludes part 3 of our 8-part series. In the next episode, part 4, we'll take a detailed look at the 1975 Lincoln Cent and uncover what makes that year unique. Stay tuned. This is part 4 of our special 8-part series that explores the interesting and sometimes surprising details hidden inside Lincoln Memorial pennies from the 1970s and early 1980s. In today's video, we take a close look at the 1975 Lincoln 1-cent coin. At first, the 1975 penny looks like any other copper penny from that era, simple, common, and easily overlooked. But when we dig deeper, we discover that this year has more to offer than most people expect. Whether you are a collector or simply someone who found an old penny in a drawer, this part will help you understand everything you need to know about the 1975 cent. The design of the 1975 penny remains the same as previous years. On the obverse side, the coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner. The words, "I in God we trust," appear above his head, Liberty sits to the left, and the date 1975 is on the right side. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial stands proudly, with United States of America at the top, the motto E Pluribus Unum in the center, and 1 cent at the bottom. This design is a classic, and although it was used for decades, each year has its own story and its own collectible details. The first thing to know about the 1975 penny is its mintage. It was produced in large quantities at 2 mints, Philadelphia, which used no mint mark, and Denver, which used the D mint mark. San Francisco also produced proof coins marked with an S, but there are no business strike 1975 S pennies. Because so many coins were produced, the 1975 penny is extremely common. Most of the coins you find today in pocket change or old jars are worn from years of use, and their value is usually 1 cent. Even in uncirculated condition, a basic 1975 or 1975 D penny is typically worth only a few cents. But just like with many other coins of this era, collectors mainly look for errors and varieties. And the 1975 Lincoln Cent does have some interesting minting mistakes that can make a simple penny much more valuable. One of the most popular is the off-center strike error. This happens when the planchet is not perfectly aligned when the coin is struck. A slight off-center strike of around 5 to 10% might be worth a few dollars, but a major off-center strike, especially one above 50%, can be worth $30 to $100 or more, as long as the date remains visible. Another error collectors look for is the broad strike. In a broad strike error, the collar that normally keeps the coin's rim in place fails, causing the coin to expand outward. These coins look wider and flatter than normal, and depending on condition and severity, they can sell for $10 to $40. The 1975 penny is also known to have a few examples of clipped planchet errors. These coins appear as if a small curved piece has been removed from the edge. A clipped planchet error can bring anywhere from $10 to $50 depending on size and visual appeal. Although it is less common, there are also double die varieties for the 1975 penny. These double dies are not as famous or dramatic as those from earlier years, but some examples still show noticeable doubling on the date, Liberty, or the motto. Strong double dies can sell for $20 to $100, especially in higher grades. The 1975 S-proof penny also has reported errors such as strike-through marks, incomplete strikes, or minor doubling, which can make a proof coin worth much more than its standard value. Like all pre-1982 pennies, the 1975 cent is made from 95% copper and weighs 3.11 grams. Many collectors save copper pennies because they enjoy their appearance, durability, and metal content. Copper pennies simply look richer and feel more solid than modern zinc pennies. And because copper pennies disappeared from circulation around the early 1980s, finding them today feels like discovering a small piece of history. So even though the 1975 Lincoln penny is extremely common in its regular form, it still carries a world of collectible potential through its errors, metal composition, and connection to the golden age of copper coinage. If you found a 1975 penny, take a close look at its edges, its alignment, and its details. You might just spot something that turns an ordinary coin into something special. That wraps up part 4 of this 8-part series. In the next episode, we'll explore the 1977 Lincoln penny and see what interesting discoveries that year has for collectors. Stay tuned. This is part 5 of our detailed 8-part series, exploring the hidden history and collector value of Lincoln Memorial cents from the 1970s and early 1980s. In today's episode, we take a deep look at the 1977 Lincoln 1-cent coin. At first, the 1977 penny seems extremely common, and for the most part, it is. But like every year in this iconic series, 1977 has its own interesting varieties, errors, and stories that make it worth talking about. Whether you are a collector or just someone who found old pennies in storage, this episode will help you understand exactly what to look for. The 1977 penny features the same familiar design used for decades. On the front of the coin is Abraham Lincoln's portrait, created by Victor David Brenner in 1909. The inscriptions around the portrait include "I in God we trust" at the top, Liberty on the left, and the year 1977 on the right. The reverse side displays the historic Lincoln Memorial, with United States of America across the top, the motto E Pluribus Unum above the memorial, and 1 cent below. Although the design remained unchanged for nearly 50 years, each year has its own unique production traits. The first thing collectors should know about the 1977 penny is its extremely high mintage. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced coins with no mint mark, made hundreds of millions of these pennies. The Denver Mint added an even larger number of coins, all marked with the D Mint mark. The San Francisco Mint produced 1977 S-proof pennies, but no business strike pennies with the S Mint mark exist. Because so many coins were produced, most 1977 pennies found today are worth only face value. A basic circulated example is typically worth 1 cent. Even an uncirculated 1977 or 1977 D penny is common, and generally worth only a few cents unless it is in extremely high grade. But collectors do not look at mintage alone. They look for the hidden details, especially mint errors and varieties. And this is where the 1977 penny becomes interesting. One of the most popular collectible features of the 1977 penny is the presence of double die errors. Although no famous major double die exists for this year, there are several minor to moderate double die varieties that appear on the lettering, especially Liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," or the date itself. These double dies can be subtle, but collectors enjoy finding them. A strong double die from 1977 can sell anywhere from $10 to $150 depending on grade and visibility. Another type of error collectors love is the off-center strike. A slight off-center strike, maybe 5 to 10%, might bring only a few dollars, but a dramatic off-center strike of 30 to 50% or more can be worth $20 to $100. The key is that the date must still be visible, otherwise the value drops significantly. Off-center errors from 1977 appear regularly in the market and are always fun to collect. The 1977 penny is also known to have broad strike errors. A broad strike occurs when the collar that normally shapes the coin fails, allowing the planchet to expand outward when struck. This creates a coin that looks wider and flatter than usual. Broad strike pennies from 1977 often sell for $10 to $40 depending on the severity and condition. They are not extremely rare, but they are unusual enough to catch a collector's attention. Clipped planchet errors are another valuable variety for the 1977 penny. These coins appear as though a crescent-shaped bite has been taken out of the edge. The value depends on the size and shape of the missing section. Small clips may sell for $10 to $15, while large and attractive clips can reach $40 or more. These errors occur when the metal strip used to make coin blanks overlaps improperly during the cutting process. Strike-through errors also appear on 1977 pennies. A strike-through occurs when a piece of foreign material, such as grease, cloth, or metal shavings, interferes with the striking process. This can leave unique markings or missing details on the coin. Depending on visibility and uniqueness, these errors can sell for $10 to $100 or more. One of the reasons collectors enjoy 1977 pennies, even common ones, is the metal composition. Like all pre-1982 pennies, the 1977 cent is made from 95% copper and weighs 3.11 grams. Copper pennies feel heavier, sound different, and tend to hold up better over time. Many collectors save 1977 pennies simply because they are part of the copper era. While most 1977 pennies will never be worth more than a few cents, the key to unlocking value lies in the details. Check for doubling with a magnifying glass. Look at the rim to see if the coin is broad struck. Inspect the shape of the edges for clips. Study the alignment to identify off-center strikes. These little details are what turn an ordinary, common penny into something special. That concludes Part 5 of our 8-part series. In the next episode, Part 6, we will explore the 1978 Lincoln penny and discover what makes that year interesting to collectors. Stay tuned. Welcome back to this documentary-style journey through America's classic Lincoln Memorial pennies. In this episode, we dive into the 1978 Lincoln 1 cent, a coin that may look simple at first glance, but carries a meaningful place in U.S. coinage history. So sit back and enjoy, because every vintage coin has a story worth telling. The year 1978 was still part of the heavy copper era in the United States. Billions of pennies were circulating in daily American life, and the U.S. Mint kept producing them in massive numbers to meet public demand. Although the 1978 penny is considered common today, it remains a favorite among collectors who appreciate classic copper coins. Let's start with the design. On the obverse side, you'll find the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has been used since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. Above Lincoln's head is the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left is the word liberty, and to the right is the date 1978. On the reverse, you'll see the famous Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. The design is detailed enough that when viewed closely, you can actually see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. This level of precision shows just how carefully the engravers crafted even the smallest coins of the era. As for mint marks, the 1978 penny was produced at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; San Francisco, which produce proof coins only marked with an S. San Francisco proof coins have a mirror-like finish and sharp, frosted details, making them highly collectible. The composition of the 1978 penny is also worth noting. It contains 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. This heavy copper recipe was soon to change in the early 1980s, so 1978 belongs to the final years of traditional copper pennies. Now, let's talk about value. Most 1978 pennies found in circulation are worth 1 to 5 cents. However, uncirculated examples, especially those with grade MS-65 or higher, can sell for $1 to $5. Top-graded pieces in MS-67 or MS-68 can command $75 to $200 or more, depending on condition and certification. But the most exciting part is the error coins. Collectors love looking for mistakes made during the minting process, and 1978 has several valuable varieties, including off-center strikes, double-die obverse or reverse, clipped planchet errors, broad strikes. These errors may sell anywhere from $20 to over $200, depending on severity. The 1978 Lincoln penny reminds us that even a common-looking coin can carry hidden value and historical charm. Collectors appreciate it not because it's rare, but because it represents the craftsmanship and stability of America's copper coinage era. If you have a 1978 penny, take a closer look. You never know, your coin might contain an error that turns an ordinary cent into a collector's treasure. Stay tuned for the next chapter as we move deeper into the late 1970s Lincoln Cent series. The 1979 Lincoln Memorial penny marks another important chapter in America's copper coinage history. Although billions were minted, this coin holds special interest due to its varieties, errors, and proof versions. Let's break down everything that makes the 1979 penny collectible. On the obverse, you'll once again find Abraham Lincoln's portrait, the iconic design that has defined the penny since 1909. The inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1979 remain in their traditional positions. On the reverse, Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial continues to shine. The design includes fine architectural details, so fine, in fact, that the tiny statue of Lincoln is visible between the columns if you inspect it closely. This is why many collectors consider the memorial design one of the most detailed reverse designs ever placed on a U.S. coin. The 1979 penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D-mint mark; San Francisco, which produce proof coins. San Francisco proof coins are especially popular because the 1979 S penny comes in 2 mint mark varieties. Type 1, filled S. Type 2, clear S, more valuable. The composition remains 95% copper and 5% zinc, with the classic weight of 3.11 grams. Now let's talk value. Circulated 1979 pennies are typically worth 1 to 5 cents. Uncirculated grades can range from $1 to $10, and high-end certified specimens, MS-67 or MS-68, can sell for $150 plus. Proof coins, especially the 1979 S Type 2, can range from $40 to $200 depending on grade. Error coins are where the real excitement begins. Popular and valuable errors include double-die obverse, DDO, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, die cracks, and cuts. These error coins can range anywhere from $25 to $250, depending on how dramatic the mistake is. The 1979 penny is a reminder that even common coins can have uncommon value. Whether you're searching rolls, checking old jars, or exploring new collections, the 1979 penny has plenty to offer, especially if you discover a proof variety or error coin. The 1980 Lincoln 1 cent represents a key moment as America entered a new decade. This coin remains part of the final chapter of the classic copper penny era, and collectors appreciate its design, historical context, and error potential. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait appears with strong, sharp details. The inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1980 frame the design. Even though this portrait is more than 70 years old by 1980, it still remains a symbol of American numismatic tradition. On the reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, once again beautifully engraved, with the tiny statue of Lincoln visible between the central columns. Mint marks for the 1980 penny include Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver with AD. San Francisco did not mint circulating pennies this year, but produced proof coins only marked with an S. The coin's composition is the classic 95% copper and 5% zinc mixture, weighing 3.11 grams. Let's talk about value. Circulated 1980 pennies are worth 1 to 5 cents. Uncirculated examples can range from $1 to $5, while high-graded MS 67 or MS 68 examples may reach $125 to $250. Error varieties make this coin especially exciting. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, broad strikes, die cracks, and cuds. These error coins can sell for $25 to $200 or more, depending on the severity. The 1980 penny stands as a symbolic transition piece, representing the end of the full copper era and the beginning of modern coinage changes that followed shortly afterward. This marks the conclusion of the 8-part Lincoln penny series. Each coin tells a small story of American history, and together they create a full documentary of copper coinage.